All right, and we are live. I am
Yay.
here. We did it. So I am here, SuAnne Vannatter, calling all the way from Wisconsin. So we're over here in Michigan with a blizzard. How are you guys handling it? Are you guys in a blizzard too?
We are. The wind is blowing, but the snow seems to have stopped, so it's just blowing it around now.
That's kind of where we are. There's still some snow falling, but it's mostly just heavy wind. And where we are,
Yeah.
we're like our area is constantly windy in the winter. We're just like an exposed nerve due to the farmland. So it's just like a little bit extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was really grateful. We did a home improvement project earlier this month. So we got an old farmhouse. So we have an old slider that when we moved in, it needed to be replaced. But then we ended up having, juniper, and then we had COVID hit. So it just was something that just kind of got pushed off. But we finally replaced it. So there's no wind coming through there anymore. And it's just better
Nice.
insulated, it's very nice, especially on chilly days like this.
Nice to be warm.
It is. So, but yeah, so you are a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. Can you tell us a little bit about like your journey into this field? What does that mean? And sorry, my dog's right here. And like, tell us about kind of like what is that position?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In my late 30s, I went back to school to get a degree. I had done some pre-nursing classes. And then when I was about 36, 37, I knew I needed to go back and get a degree. So got my bachelor's of science in nursing when I was 40. And then was a RN, and pretty soon discovered the field of mental health and discovered that I just loved it. And so I went back to school and got my master's in mental health, so the field of psychiatry. So I evaluate and diagnose and treat all mental health disorders and stuff. So I started at the VA working with veterans, and now I'm at a clinic in a small community and treating all variety of mental health disorders. So I look at the body holistically. So I'll look at sleep, diet, stress, environment, prescribe medications, recommend supplements, stress coping techniques, and things like that. So, yeah, so that's my job, and I just love it.
That's awesome. So, what's the difference between psychology and I'm going to butcher this word. The difference between the two.
Psychiatry,
Psychiatry.
yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
it is confusing. It kind of was for me too. So, it's all mental health, but some focus on treating with counseling. Some just strictly diagnose. So they look at your thoughts, go through a battery of computer tests and history evaluation of your life, and they are strictly there to diagnose you, maybe recommend treatment, stuff. So it's all in the same field. It just matters on how you focus your work with that client, basically.
Okay. Wow. That's so. What brought you to psychiatric? I'm going to butcher it again. Forgive me. Psychiatry.
Psychiatry works.
Psychiatry. Thank you. Psychiatry. So, what drew you to psychiatry versus psychology?
Yeah. Well, to be a psychologist, you have to have your doctorate. And it's again, there's a variety. So some psychologists can prescribe. So that would be a different certification. Some psychologists just do counseling, psychotherapy, and stuff. So, oh, there's your dog.
Yeah. Just saying
Hello.
hi.
Hello, that's a big dog.
Yeah, she's an English Mastiff.
Oh,
So,
that's fun.
okay. Yes, she is fun overall. So you mentioned that you treat the body holistically.
Mhm.
How, like, how does that pertain? Like, does like ask about diet enter into that conversation?
Yeah. So, kind of giving a little history, while I was working with clients and patients, I discovered there were usually a lot of GI issues, stomach issues, diarrhea, constipation, stomach pains, weight issues. And so I really wanted to do more research. And so just looking into how does that play a role? Sometimes mental health, anxiety, depression affects your stomach. And sometimes many of the neurochemicals that our body needs for emotion is created in the stomach. So then sometimes because your stomach has issues, then your mood will have issues. So it's kind of like a cycle, which comes first, I don't know. So diet plays a huge role in mood, huge. So yeah, I think I discovered that in working with clients. So we really look at their diet and generally tell people I can prescribe a med. That's just one that is full of chemicals and junk food and caffeine. We're not going to make a lot of headway with their mood. So we have to incorporate all aspects of the health to improve mood.
Wow. So you mentioned that like our emotions are in our gut. We often think like our emotions are in our head. So why are you saying that they're in our gut? Like, because that's how we're often taught. Like you feel with your brain,
I
or your
know, I
heart.
know. You kind of feel everywhere pretty much, right? But so our gut, like say serotonin is made in our people or yourself or others. It's just like an emotion rises up and people just kind of like, oh, they just like hold their stomach. There's just something going on. It's like that is kind of a source of our emotion and mood. And some people have written about it. It's like the gut brain connection for mood and stuff. So we know that connection is there. So yeah, it's both. It is both. And our thoughts also play one of the biggest roles for where our emotion and mood goes.
Interesting.
So I spend a lot. So if I were in your head, what kind of thoughts would I be hearing? Is it negative? Is it critical? Is it fearful? Because however our thoughts start goes to our brain, releases certain chemicals, whether stress chemicals or healing chemicals and hormones, then our emotions follow. So if we can stop it at the thinking level, we're also making some headway for changing our mood and healing our body.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And just a reminder, because it's been a hot second since I took health class, what does serotonin do again?
Yeah, so serotonin is one of our brain neurochemicals. So it can have a calming effect for our body. For many people, it does. So sometimes if we're highly stressed, we're using a lot of serotonin. So sometimes we can just give our body a little boost and get a little more serotonin going, and then that can have a calming effect. For people who are depressed, sometimes serotonin just kind of makes them feel a little more motivated, a little more energized.
Oh, interesting. That's that's really interesting. Like it's the same chemical that does like it either calms you down as anxiety or gives you a boost. Like
Correct. Yeah. So that's funny. If people are depressed, no motivation, no energy, and they try and load up on monster drinks or caffeine, they still have the low motivation and low energy, but it's being masked by this caffeinated state, getting their heart rate going. It's like taking like revving the engine while keeping it in park. And it's like you're just
yeah,
revving it and you're just kind of burning up your car but not going anywhere. So it's not a healthy thing to do for your car or for your body.
no. Oh, interesting. So, what I was really excited to kind of talk to you about, and before we kind of get to this discussion, I just want to, all these, everything we talk about is the opinions solely expressed by, ourselves and yourself, and they do not express the view of any of our employers. They're just what we've gathered from research and like our reflections on experiences as well.
Correct.
So we had to so like how I know you is that you're my aunt. And so we had gone together one summer and you started talking about the benefits of a keto and the brain. And I just remember being really fascinated by that. I was wondering if you could kind of like talk more about like you were mentioned something, was it Alzheimer's in the brain and like saturated fats?
Yeah. Well, that was another. I was raised in the era where fat makes you fat and don't eat fat and have skim milk and don't do bacon and all these different things because it's very unhealthy. And then when I started researching and finding out that the brain is literally mostly made of fat and cholesterol, and it needs fat and cholesterol to be healthy. And I was just like, this is so backwards. So doing more research, yeah, the whole food pyramid is like backward. Fortunate because when they really started the low fat messaging years ago, they can go back and look at the data and see an increased rate of like dementia, Alzheimer's, and things. So it really did affect a population of people because by reducing the fat, you took it away from people's brains, and that's where they need it most. So yeah, so I did some research and then discovered, because everybody seemed to be on the keto diet, which is a high fat carb diet. And here, finding out for probably hundreds of years, but in our country in the early 1900s, a keto diet was the first diet to treat seizure disorders, epilepsy. I know. And so I was like, again, confirming that the brain needs fat, healthy fat. But I think bacon works too. So I've tried that. Anyway,
That's
yeah,
me.
so I know. So yeah, so cholesterol, it needs fat. And so the keto diet, well, that's why for many people it works. It makes you feel awake. It makes you feel like it removes the brain fog for a lot of people. They just feel sharper in their thinking. They feel fuller longer because fat makes you feel fuller. And so for a lot of people, for weight loss, it actually does work really well. And then the low carb piece just messages your body to use your own stores for energy and things. So yeah, I'm love reading, researching, and especially once I realized that all the messaging from my years growing up were kind of wrong, I guess I would say. I'm always open to reading and researching new things, and then I get to immediately incorporate it into my practice and my colleagues. So they knew when I discovered that wheat is not the original wheat, and that it's not just for the people who have gluten free to limit our wheat, because this wheat that we eat now is not original. It's hybrid. It's not healthy. So everyone knows that SuAnne got on this stop eating wheat kick to everybody and stuff. So, but it's true. It is absolutely true that some of what we eat is really not healthy for us, and it affects our body medically and mental health wise. And so what we put into our body does matter.
And it throws off the bacteria in your gut, which leads then to your emotions and then your mental health. Because, as you said, the gut and the brain are tied together.
Exactly.
I think if you eat like too much sugar, it throws off it gathers oh, I have to reread this again. My sisters and I are starting Whole30 in January, and so which is a lot like it's a lot like keto, but you're not carb counting, and you can have potatoes. Okay. So it's basically meat, fruits, vegetables, potatoes. That's it. No alcohol, no caffeine, no beans, no lentils or anything like that, no breads, and try to avoid sugar as much as possible. So my sister's been looking at like sausage, like a sausage patty, sugars in that. So it's just like all of these things we talk about how our generation's the most depressed and anxious but then you see that there's sugar in every little thing and how it throws off your gut.
Totally.
And so and like, so maybe like, I wonder if have you done any, like, have you read anything about linking those two together? If like how our modern our modern food availability and how we've processed it does link to, is there like a correlation at all, or is it just speculation?
No, there is. And when they do research and they take sugar out of people's diets and they measure everything, their pancreas, their, blood sugar levels, everything, it is an obvious healing that they go through when they pull sugar and at any stage. So for anybody, even people who are pre-diabetic, they can come out of that. Early diabetes, if their pancreas is still working. So yeah, the sugar is probably one of the most damaging things, again, that we can put into our body. It is just too processed. It is just chemically processed in a way that the body is just damaged by it. And of course, for people who, if we're talking mood again, sugar can spike quick energy, but then sugar always drops. And then people can be irritable and short fused and they don't know why and stuff. So, and then I don't know when they discovered the term hangry, which is angry and hungry. And I think everybody's kind of experienced that. But there's a medical reason behind it. You're not just a mean, moody person who wants some food. It's like your body is like saying your blood sugar is dropping. You need to get some food.
Yeah.
In you right away. And that's not good. Our body should not be in that spiking and dropping all day long and stuff. So again, affects our mood and our energy. So what we put into our body for diet, so critical for everything.
Have you seen, kind of going back to like eating more fat and the effects on the brain, have you seen this like with people who actually follow your advice and say, I'm just going to eat a ton more fat? Do they seem clearer in the mind afterwards? Or bearing frog?
Your advice, because I'm full of great advice, and then whether or not people take it, I'm always curious and excited for if they do. And pretty much across the board, anybody who has tried it absolutely has noticed a difference, especially for the people who come in and say, that they describe it as brain fog. It's just like not clear, just a slowed down thought process. It's like you have nothing to lose. And each one who has tried it has come back and said they have absolutely noticed a difference. There's usually not just one thing in our life, though, that's the culprit. It's usually a variety of things. So even though we're tackling that, what else is going on in their life? Is their house environment full of a lot of toxic chemicals?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of stress? How's their sleep? The rest of their diet, their water intake. So so these different areas.
Wow. That is huge, because I remember I have two like little stories to kind of tag off that. Like one, like when I was pregnant, I was eating a lot of carbs, a lot of sugars, just trying to deal with morning sickness and stuff. But I felt so foggy to a point, like you could tell me something, I'd be like, what? You could tell me it again? I'm like, what? And you could tell me again. I'm like, yeah, I got it, when I really didn't. Like my mom, like I went to see a play, Fiddler on the Roof, with my mom.
Yeah.
She told me what play we were seeing so many times leading up to it, to a point I stopped asking her. I was just like, I need to be here at this time. And my husband asked me, he goes, so what play are you seeing? I'm like, I have no idea. She told me, but I have no idea. Which was terrifying. But, so that makes sense. Like I wasn't eating a lot of fat. I wasn't eating a lot of like meats. If it was meat, it was like chicken, which doesn't have a lot of fat on it.
Sure.
So like looking back, I wonder if like how that would have affected. And another story that I thought was really interesting is that I had last year, like we had so much sickness in our house. And one of it was like, I had like up to 102-degree fever for like several days, like dealing with a high fever. And when I finally beat it, again, we were eating a lot of chicken, occasionally some beef. And I came out of it and I said, honey, I need you to go and buy me bacon, all the bacon, not just a lot of bacon, clean them out. And like I was craving bacon so much, but it makes sense. Like what you're saying is like, this is like how your brain heals. Like that was a high temperature for an adult. My brain was trying to heal itself. So just
Truly.
fascinating that there's like science. It wasn't just a craving.
I know. And for me, it's like I have to see the science behind it. So I have to look like, why is this working? Even when I got into essential oils, which was when I first started detoxing my home, someone introduced it to me and I'm like, oh, sure, fine. It smells good. Whatever. I'll take it. So I had started with just lemon essential oil. And within the first week, I think of every day was like FDA approved for like food, so I could put it in my water so it was safe. And I put a few drops. So like a few drops was equal to like 20 lemons, you know, so it was quite concentrated. But after a few days, I started feeling like weird. And I had to look it up, like, what's wrong with me? And in the end, discovered I was detoxing. Well, I had to say, I'm detoxing from what? I don't use drugs. I'm like, I don't have it. What's coming out of me? And it's just like, so then as I researched everything in my environment, in my home, and so I just slowly, you can't do it overnight, but slowly I started detoxing my home. So that's when I started changing all my laundry detergent, dish soap, shampoo, conditioner, anything. I stopped using dryer sheets, went to wool balls because the dryer sheets leave a coating on your clothes so that when you get warm and that releases into your bloodstream, anything you put on your skin goes into your bloodstream. So that took some months because I also had to weigh, like, am I going to throw it away or am I going to give it to somebody else? Why would I give them something that is damaging and harmful to them if I'm not going to use it and stuff? So pretty much whatever goes into my home, like as much as I possibly can for everybody in my home, we do chemical free things. So I know whatever's going into my body, into my loved ones, isn't going to harm them.
Wow. That's a podcast right there. Talk about essential oils and everything you've learned about those chemicals. So we'll have to like meet up sometime and talk more about that.
I know. Absolutely. Yeah, it's fascinating. I love the body. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's journey is different, but the body will always tell the story of how it's handling stress. And so those are the signs and red flags that I watch for when I talk to people. How's your sleep? How easy is it for you to fall asleep down? Do you stay asleep? Do you wake? Do you dream in the night? How do you wake up full of energy, ready to start your day? You know, and how awake do you feel during the day? And appetite and different things. So, and like, what is their coping mechanism? What do they do to cope? I know you and I were talking earlier about sometimes just being in a stressful life or job or career. We also need to cope.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let's talk about
stories all day. Yeah. It's interesting. During the whole COVID shutdown and I had to work from home, that's when I discovered that my commute was part of my coping. So I have a 50-minute drive. And it's a beautiful drive. It's country setting between lakes and just huge Northwoods trees. And so that prepares me for the day. I listen to podcasts or music. At the end of the day, I have that 15-minute drive home so I can just kind of process, maybe pray for my clients and just kind of let it go and then come into my family. I didn't have that when I was working from home and didn't realize that was a coping thing for me that I used. So maybe we'll move closer one day. And then maybe I'll just have to like drive endlessly around a block just to get some more time. So I have also how people emotional eat. And that's a very easy thing. And I certainly have emotionally eaten, especially with a husband who's a cook and a baker. He makes it very easy to emotionally eat.
Yes. He's like fantastic. Like everything he makes is absolutely amazing.
I know. But that also then brings everything else negative with it. It is a quick, scientifically, body, very short-lived. They know when you swallow a food, there's receptors in the back of your throat that goes to the pleasure center part of your brain. So the act of actually swallowing really good food does, for a short time, give you a bit of a release or calming or a sense of peace, And so, but it is short-lived, and then comes all the after effects of whatever that was that you did. So best thing is to snack on something, self-talk, go for a walk. I know one day it was a particularly stressful day, some really hard stories that others were going through. And I hadn't been on this trail for a long time, but I just knew was just go park. And it went across a beautifully long train trestle and just was a walking path. And it was perfect. It was just kind of getting out in nature and just breathing and then just being grateful that I get to be there to hear people's stories and come alongside of them in their journey and stuff. So, because I want to keep doing this forever. So I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my heart and my mind as well, as we all do.
That is, wow. I can't imagine, because a lot of people do use that as an excuse. Like, oh, I have a stressful job, so I'm going to have a glass of wine. Mm-hmm. But we can talk about alcohol if you want, but alcohol is it's a very powerful drug.
Very.
Of how it just so quickly changes your brain chemicals to be like, I can't come down unless I have this. Or I can't go to sleep unless I have this. And I think that's probably one of the hardest things that people who do struggle with alcoholism, they're trying to rewire their brain.
Mm-hmm.
And
correct. Yeah, correct. And so the alcohol, there's few things that can cross the blood-brain barrier that protects your brain. And so pain medications and alcohol are two of them. So it goes right into the brain. Alcohol affects your breathing rate, your heart rate, your muscles, everything and stuff. So it's a very powerful drug. And the brain likes anything that's powerful. And so if you need to relax and you go to something that the brain's like, yeah, let's do it. That's quick. That's fast. What happens is after time, your brain loses its ability to self-calm and self-regulate because it just wants that fast fix. It can relearn. It takes time and it takes a lot of effort. You don't want to walk into that world where you're having to then retrain your brain. You never want to lose that ability to self-regulate and self-calm.
Okay. Yeah, because then you start losing control over yourself. Wow.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
In your opinion, what is the best, if people are like, I just want to feel better emotionally, physically, mentally, what would be the best diet for them just to kind of start, or not even if it's a specific diet like paleo or keto, but things that they should be eating to make their gut healthy?
Yep. So I always start with water. We're 70% or more water. Most people are dehydrated. And how do I know that? Because they don't drink any water. So they don't drink any water and they have caffeine in Monster drinks. Caffeine pulls more water out of your body. So you're even more dehydrated. So they say half your weight in ounces. So you want to work up to that. But that really is hydrated. Coffee's fine. There's even keto coffee, which is a high fat recipe, right? So you can have that in the morning, feeds your brain, kind of gets you going. Nothing wrong with that. You just can't have Monster drinks and caffeine all day into the evening. And then whatever you put into your body, sometimes it's a good first start just to recognize what are you putting into your body. And I generally ask people if it grows on the land, if it grows and it comes from animals, um, that is real food, it's okay. Your body recognizes real food. So there is not a field of hot Cheetos anywhere, or Doritos and stuff. So not real food. Brain doesn't know what to do with it. It's a chemical, and it just starts messing up your gut and your mood as well. So sometimes we just start simple, like water. Where's your caffeine intake? And let's go to real food. If they're really having fibromyalgia, brain fog, joint issues, I really encourage people to more quickly go into a diet that really could help them, because they'll start feeling better more quickly. So I'll say it's up to everybody how serious you want to take it. A lot of people with aches and pains are like, yeah, anything, I'll do anything. So it's like, cut out bread products, cut out the pastas, cereals, and go to high fat, get some avocados, and just kind of like an feeling better sooner. And then again, well hydrated. And then we incorporate everything with a good sleep pattern, going to bed at a consistent time, and good sleep hygiene, and how you prepare for a good night's sleep, and coping, breathing. A lot of people don't breathe. I mean, thankfully the body just takes over for us, but we don't really breathe the way that is healing breathing, right? It's just lung filling breaths. And sometimes in the office I do this, so I have to like teach people, you're just going to fill your lungs with air, and then you're just going to hold it for a few seconds. Then you're going to slowly exhale. And as you exhale, you're just picturing your whole body relaxing. And as you inhale, you're just picturing all this oxygen going throughout your whole body. And so if every hour we could just kind of stop and take a deep breath, we're already healing. So sometimes it's just the basics for life: water, nutrition, breathing, sleep, and
Wow. I really liked how you start off with like the simple steps, because a lot of times people are like, oh, switch this whole new diet, throw everything out in your pantry, and that's scary. Like, that's a lot of money you're throwing out. And the keto coffee, is that like you put some butter in your coffee?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you can look, there's recipes out there. Often it's like a MCT or medium chain oil fat, and then some butter. Yeah, and then your coffee, maybe stevia. I promote stevia for people because that's a safe plant-based sweetener. And then you get your little frother and mix it up. And yeah, it's good. I do it most mornings, actually, because I have my 50-minute drive and I can sip on that.
And your coffee. And
yeah.
That's actually how Cody quit energy drinks. So I can't remember if it was Monsters, but it was 2 energy drinks a day he was drinking.
Okay.
Which is not good for you. And his gut was all messed up. So he went cold turkey and went to keto coffee. And he was like, this is the best stuff I've ever had. Now he's an avid coffee drinker. But so less caffeine. He is drinking less caffeine, which is good for him. And then of course, all the less sugars and all those toxins too.
Mm-hmm.
But so just like a little plug-in for keto coffee, that it's awesome and it works.
It does.
So you kind of mentioned that you occasionally go for a walk because you yourself are extremely busy. And I know like it's so easy to like, we think we have to get our work done. We have to clean our house. We have to do all these things. And then we can take care of ourselves. What's your advice for like making sure that for building in health into our daily diet and making it a bigger, like a larger priority or higher priority?
Well, I think that's just it. We have to make it a priority because no one else will. And so sometimes it's just asking people like what matters to them. Oh, it's my kids, or I'm taking care of my parents, or whatever. And like, so you need to be there for them. You need to be at your best to be there for them. So by taking a few minutes for yourself every day, so that you can do your best for your family, for your loved ones, for whatever else you prioritize. So sometimes it's a mindset. And I know I just recently had somebody, their sleep is affected, their food is affected because they're so busy taking care of an aging parent. But their health is declining because of this. So that's the perspective we put on it. It's like we have to, it's like being in an airplane where they tell you when the masks drop, put yours on first and then go to your, person next to you. I would totally do my neighbor, but they're like, no, see, you need to live. You need to make sure that you're taking care of you so you can take care of the ones you love. Same concept. And so finding time, you have to. And for many people, it can be very refreshing and healing, even if you can't walk. A lot of people have medical issues and they cannot do physical things. There are things you can do that is still healing and refreshing. And sometimes you have to go back, like, what did you use? A craft, it was coloring, it was reading.
Yeah.
You need to incorporate that back into your life, into your day. Moments. Sometimes all you have is moments. If you can find a moment for yourself where you can just sit back, listen to an old favorite song, read a little something, maybe journal. I say one sentence, just write something down on a piece of paper and start journaling. Maybe it's just moments throughout your day for yourself. And those can be very healing moments for your brain to start healing.
Wow. Thank you for that. That helps. Yeah. You're giving me so many ideas of how we can incorporate this into our lives. And that's super duper helpful. So, well, thank you so much for your time and like getting on and talking through about food, your body, how it affects your mental health, especially with the new year coming up. I know people, like I know myself, I want to make sure I'm still mentally like I'm healthier so I can take care of, my family. So these are really great tips of how we can start doing that now, even before the new year starts. If people want to stay like in contact with you, do you have like a blog that they could follow or an Instagram?
I do have a blog that I started years ago that I use every now and then. So it's SuAnneMurphy.com. Murphy is my maiden name and the family who adopted me. And I love to honor them and the name that they gave me. And so that's a big piece of my identity and who I am. So SuAnneMurphy.com. I have a Gmail, SuAnneMurphy.com again. No disrespect to my husband, Mr. Vannatter. That is my legal name. So.
All right. I'll put those, if you want to send me those links, I'll put those in the description so people can check out your blog and see the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. I would love that.
Yeah. So thank you again for your time. It's really appreciated.
Absolutely, Ashley. Thanks for inviting me and have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Merry Christmas.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.